Look at this creature. It is one of the most elegant, delicate, and beautiful insects on the planet. And yet, for some reason, the English language looked at this majestic flying canvas of art and decided to name it after a greasy block of churned dairy. Today on Everyday History Explained, we are answering a brilliant question asked by a friend nicknamed Dionysus, who asked a very simple, very weird question. Who put the butter in butterfly? Today, we are investigating the strange 8th century etymology, the high-stakes medieval folklore of shape-shifting witches, a rather gross Dutch theory, and the internet myth of the flutter-by. To find out who put the butter in butterfly, we have to go back over 1,000 years. The word we use today directly descends from the Old English word búderflia, which was first recorded around the 8th century. But this wasn't just an isolated English quirk. The ancient Dutch used the exact same root, calling it the botervlieg. So why did these Germanic languages combine these two words? Our investigation leads us to 3 main historical theories, and the first one is strictly visual. Theory number 1 is the brimstone theory. One of the most common and easily spotted species in the ancient British Isles was the brimstone butterfly. Unlike the complex monarch patterns we often picture today, the male brimstone is a striking, solid, buttery yellow. Crucially, the brimstone is one of the very first insects to emerge in early spring, exactly the same time of year that medieval farmers began their spring butter-making season. Many historians believe that early peasants simply saw these bright yellow insects fluttering over the meadows just as the dairy season started, and quite literally named them the butter-colored fly. But if you dig deeper into medieval folklore, you find a second, much darker explanation. In the Middle Ages, butter and milk were not just grocery items. They were life-sustaining, high-calorie foods. If a farmer's milk soured or their butter failed to churn, their family might starve during the winter. Because, well, they didn't understand bacteria, they blamed witches. There was a widespread European superstition that witches could shapeshift into winged insects to sneak through keyholes and steal cream. If we look at other European languages, the proof of this fear is everywhere. In Old German, butterflies were often called Milchdieb, which translates to milk thief. Even the modern German word for butterfly, Schmetterling, comes from the Eastern German root schmetten, meaning cream. They literally believed these elegant bugs were little dairy goblins trying to ruin their food supply. There is also a third, slightly grosser theory that stems from the Netherlands. Another Old Dutch word for the insect was boterscheide, which roughly translates to butter pooper. Yes, some linguists believe that because the excrement of certain butterflies resembled yellow drops of butter, the peasants named them based on what they left behind on the leaves. Now, before we conclude our linguistic investigation, we have to completely destroy a massive internet myth. If you spend enough time on Reddit or trivia forums, you will inevitably hear someone claim that the original word was actually flutter-by, because of how they flutter by you. The myth claims that some clumsy dictionary writer simply swapped the letters by mistake, ruining it forever. As fun as that sounds, linguistic historians have proven this is mathematically impossible. The word was written as búderfleoge in manuscripts centuries before the word flutter even existed in the English language. Furthermore, the act of accidentally swapping the first letters of words is called a spoonerism, named after Reverend William Spooner, who lived in the late 1800s. Flutter-by is a modern, poetic invention. It is a fun play on words, but it has absolutely zero historical accuracy. So, to answer Dionysus's question, who put the butter in butterfly? It was the ancient Germanic tribes and medieval Anglo-Saxons. Whether they were admiring the yellow wings of the brimstone, nervously guarding their freshly churned dairy from shape-shifting witches, or observing what the insects left behind on the leaves, the name stuck. And while it might sound ridiculous to name something so beautiful after something you spread on toast, it's a perfect example of how the weird, superstitious history of our ancestors is, permanently locked inside the words we speak every day. Thanks for watching Everyday History Explained. If you're tired of channels stretching a simple answer into an 8-minute video, make sure to hit subscribe. If you have an everyday mystery you want us to investigate, leave it in the comments below. You might just inspire our next episode just like Dionysus did.